Felicia
From the
Michaels,
moment
my
you hear his
princess,
voice, you
has been
know
entertaining
there are
audiences
problems.
with a unique
Joey
style
Coco Diaz has
of
been rocking
provocative humor
comedy
since the
stages for
90s, all right?
15 years.
With her
You've seen him in
tongue-in-cheek,
films and
she's been
television,
exploring
but
such
his real
topics as
patois, as
dynamics
he's
of the
fond of
male-female
saying, are the
relationships,
stories from
or
his
as we call
past
them here in
and
the
his
studio,
chaotic
dirty
views on
thoughts,
life that will make
and
this
the
podcast
proliferation
a different
of the
beat.
sensual
Raw
feminist.
pain and
She's a little
passion is how I
firecracker
really
rolled up, and that's why I
describe
love
this
her, and that's why you're going to love
New
listening. So
Jersey
tune in, all right?
animal.
Greetings to all you podcasters in Podcastville. You got my girl Felicia Michaels.
And my boy, or shall I say man, Joey Diaz.
Right here, we're back. Hoping you guys are doing great. This holiday podcast.
I know, Thanksgiving
already. And my 1 year anniversary.
Your 1 year anniversary.
Which you took pictures of last year.
I know.
See how time flies when you're having fun, you know what I'm saying?
I know. A year went by quickly.
A year went by quickly. And you had a date last night?
I had a date
What'd
last
you guys
night
do last night?
with the activity partners. We participated in some activities.
All right. What'd you go eat? You said you got an appetizer?
We got some drinks and an appetizer, and it was a lot of fun, and shared some stories and did that whole thing, you know. Trying to keep the activities as fun for as long as possible.
You look very beautiful, so it must be working. You have a certain glow in your eye. I know you're not pregnant. So,
Christ, let's hope not.
You got a nice glow in your eye, and it's weird when you see a woman who's happy, you know. And where you're at right now with this guy, you're pretty happy. It's very moderate.
Happy,
you got him at arm's length, and that's sometimes the
yeah.
best way, you know.
Yeah, we'll see
Once
what
you cross
happens.
that line is when, you know, you find out he snores and, you know, his toes got fungi and he eats M&Ms all day.
He does snore. Men snore.
Oh, we snore, especially
Men
after we eat that
fucking
monkey.
snore.
We got a couple pubic hairs in our throat, you know what I'm saying? And they make that noise at the end. It's like the little rascals and shit.
One time, my ex-husband, he would snore a lot too, and he used to, when he would drink, he had drinking whiskey or something, and he was snoring, but he was like breathing on me when I was sleeping, and I literally woke up like, oh my God, the house is on fire!
He had the whiskey breath and shit. You know what happens when you drink? You dry up at night when you sleep. It's weird because I have sleep apnea, and I have a computer in my machine, and every time I bring the card in, the guy could tell when I drank.
Right.
He'd say, "What happened on this night?" You know, it's something happens to you in your sleep and you drink, and it's really noticeable. When I didn't know nothing about it. I'm no fucking doctor. I don't watch Discovery.
Right.
What else is cracking there?
Wow.
We got some good emails again this week.
We get some
Fucking great
kick-ass emails.
This
It's
show
crazy.
is run by emails. I love it.
I know, it's crazy.
We just cater to it. We got people going to prison.
Yeah.
People giving up drugs. People trying.
People losing weight.
People losing weight. You know what, man? I weighed myself. I gained 8 pounds. That's fucked up.
You did?
Yeah, and see, with the Weight Watchers, it's really weird with your weight. People who are listening, you always write in, and I appreciate you all working on your health because we all have to. I mean, nobody's fucking working. When you're not working, you might as well work and do some jumping jacks, bitch. You know what I'm saying? You're not working. Go for a run. You fuck something. You know?
They ought to do that for people that get unemployment. Like, you can come get your check, but you got to do some
You got to
push-ups.
run here, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You got to run here backwards from fucking Sherman Oaks, cocksucker.
You got to get on the Stairmaster.
Yeah.
And we'll give you your check.
But it was weird because I switched up a little bit. I stopped doing aerobic activity as much. I just went to Kung Fu.
Right.
And I started going to yoga, which made me strong as fuck. And you know what? I've been eating that Mexican ice cream, man,
can't
like
do
2
that.
cones a week, and I've been going for Chinese food for lunch. Even though I take my little walk in the morning, you know what, man? If you don't count your points, she used to say it in the meetings, like, if you eat 4 more points a week, you'll gain 5 pounds in a month. And it's fucking true.
Wow.
It's true, man. So if you're on that Weight Watch, you're trying to work it out, this is the time to tighten your belt, too. This is why I know.
Yeah.
This is the time of the year where you'll wake up January 5th, 30 pounds fucking heavier.
Yeah.
So this is the time of the year I really work it out. Like this week,
you.
I went to Kung Fu twice. I hit the bag one time. I'm going to work out today. I got Kung Fu tomorrow with the brothers. And that's my week. But I worked out 5 days. I recover. I'll weigh myself Sunday. But this time of the year, you go to people's houses. They got a cookie. Who's got a Reese's peanut butter cup? You know, next thing you know, you're looking like fucking Santa Claus. So please, it's the holiday season. Strap on. Think about what you're eating before you put it in your mouth, cocksuckers.
Well, here's what I wanted to ask you. I was on your Facebook yesterday, and I saw that it was your anniversary. Would you like to share that?
For the kidnapping.
For the kidnapping.
You know, it's weird because I felt, like I told you, November's always been a weird month for me, and I have all these emotions in November. Sometimes they're good. Like next week is my wedding anniversary. But
Right.
This
what
week,
exact day? What did you get
it's
married
the
on?
25th, so it's Thanksgiving Day is my anniversary.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we'll be cutting a turkey, and I'll be eating a monkey afterward. You know what I'm saying? You know the deal, turkey and monkey. What
Turkey
the
and a
fucking real
monkey,
savages
you
eat.
can't go wrong as long as the turkey's not in the monkey's ass.
Yeah, and it's no Traduncan. Some guy did write a note about Traduncan, and he said it was disgusting, but it is good. good. Not good on Thanksgiving, but good the rest of the year.
You know what I thought was funny when I read the word turduncan? I was like, the first 4 letters is turd.
Turd. Oh. And Stacy, by the way, loved the little
mashed
story
potato
about it.
story,
She wasn't
yes.
mad. In fact, she put it on Facebook.
I saw that.
Stacy P is a publicist. I love
Yeah.
her to death. Let's give her a shout out.
We'll give her a shout out if you need some comedy publicity. That's the girl to call. Just
Or
ask
some
her
bad mashed potatoes.
to bring those fucking mashed potatoes.
But it was weird because I woke up Monday and I always think about the week ahead, and I'm like, oh, what happened? And you look at the dates, you're like, November 16th, I got arrested, whatever. And I thought about November 18th, and I thought about what happened that day 23 years ago. I woke up and went and kidnapped somebody. And, we fuck around in here, and I tell you stories about hookers. We burned their wigs, and, that was great. And I couldn't imagine telling you the story because I didn't want to see your reactions. Because only two people pointed out to me what I had done. I always tell people, I just kidnapped this dude. It was a drug bust. Oh, really? I had a machine gun, and it's a joke, and I went to prison. But it really wasn't a fucking joke. It was something that I did that I'm not proud of because at the bottom, I picked the kid up, I don't know. I'll tell you the story. You tell me what you think. I know you want some questions. I was working with this kid, Kent, and he had gotten a DUI, and the kid was pretty fucked up. He was on his low emotional angle, and he said at the time he had gotten a DUI. We were working at Subaru. We were selling cars. I was going to college at night and selling Subarus. And even though I was mugging people and shit, like I said,
Amongst
I was always
other
going to
things.
school. And this kid comes up to me, and I knew him from the car business, and he told me that he had these 2 kilos, blah, 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 and his roommate, this poor guy, he was sleeping on his couch, and weeks before the DUI, or the night of the DUI, I guess he got banged up and went to the hospital. And while he was at the hospital getting stitched up, the guy broke into the pharmacy, robbed liquid cocaine, and ran out. This guy was an ace.
Have you ever done liquid cocaine?
No, but you get it at the dentist office. That good shit, It's
How do you do if you're going to do it? How do you do liquid
You just
cocaine?
shoot it. It's liquid.
You shoot it.
Yeah, you don't snort it. It's liquid, Unless you're a freak like me and you put it in your nose with one of those things to put
Like
apple
a
juice
spritzer?
in.
Like a sinus spray?
Like a turkey thing, like a turkey baster up your nose or something. And it was really weird because this kid was at a low point. Me, I wasn't doing bad, but I was fucking hooked. I was doing, an 8-ball a night by myself and jerking off
I
till
don't know
6.
much about coke. Is that a lot?
That's a lot. That's
a
fucking
lot?
a lot. And my
Like, if
friend Georgie lived with me.
If you have an 8-ball, how many people on average could do an 8-ball?
Fucking 5 or 6.
Oh, really? And you did that all by yourself?
By myself,
Yeah.
And Georgie was living with me at the time, who wasn't on heroin at the time, and then he got on coke, and now he's my best friend. He's clean and sober, except he smokes that white line every once in a while, some weed in Jersey. That's been killing that brother. But,
Really?
Yeah, he got some good weed in Jersey. But it's weird how this kid. The deal was I was going to pick him up, and I had this biker guy that was going to rob him, and it was like we all got robbed.
Right.
But in the meanwhile, it was what a tangle web we weave because Kent was robbing his roommate. I was going to rob Kent, and then Steve Tidwell was going to rob me, because he had some stripper girl that he was dating, a nude stripper in Denver and Aurora that was getting divorced. And she couldn't sleep with him until she got the divorce, but she was a nude dancer.
Right.
So he had to pay for the divorce.
Makes perfect
Fucking
sense.
makes perfect sense. So he's all whacked up by this pussy. I'm whacked up on the drugs, and Vela wants to leave. 3 fucking emotionally mooks, And what I was going to do is I was going to take the money from the coke. And here's how destructive our lives are. When things were going perfect, when I had a normal life, I was going to take the money from the coke and I was going to go back to Jersey and just go till the money ended. That was my plan. That's when I was in a self-destruction course, as a lot of people are.
How old were you then?
At this time, I was 23, maybe 24.
23.
And I was like, this is the first time in my life that I really had it together. I had a job. I was making money. I was going to school. I had a beautiful girlfriend. And I'm still fucking around with this because old habits die hard. This is who we are, And the next thing you know, the day came, November 18th. We had been planning it for like 2 weeks. Tidwell's mother had real estate. Another fucking idiot. His mother had real estate all over Boulder. She had an empty house, so we were going to do the drug deal then. So I went to pick him up and brought him to the house. And while we're doing the drug deal, we rip out fucking tape and handcuffs and start taping the kid. And Tidwell had a pit bull, so he put the pit bull on the fucking kid. And then Tidwell went and tried to ransack the guy's house.
Was crying for his life? Was he? What was like?
He
what
was
that
he was going through
like?
so much at the time that this was just another day for him. And I didn't realize it till years later how bad I felt about that. Here's a guy, just looking for cocaine, just looking to make a deal. Next thing you know, he's tied up in an empty room with a pit bull in the fucking room. This is the savage that I had become. And I wasn't that. I didn't want to be that. I thought I wanted to be that. That's why I always tell people, before you get into that business, fucking think about it. Think if this is what you really want to do with your life, And I was telling you the other day that when Tidwell came back from ransacking and said he didn't find nothing, and he told me what he had found in the drawer, which I knew he was lying to me, and the amount of the coke, I knew then that I had made a mistake. And I was just trying to get out of this as easy as I could. I went to the car, and I knew the 2 kilos was still in the house, in Randy's house. Here's this poor kid tied up on the fucking floor, I'm not even letting my emotions get into this. This, for me, was just I was going to do this and get the fuck out and start a new life, I wasn't even thinking about what this poor kid was going through, And I went to the car, and I had a gun in the car. I had a gun that I was going to use that he had given me. And I said, you know what?
That Kent had given you.
No, the other idiot.
Tidwell.
Steve. And I thought about it, and I go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shoot these guys. I'm going to shoot them both. Nobody will know. It's 1 in the after fucking noon. Everybody's working. It's a suburbia. They'll hear 2 shots. They could think it's a car or something. And I'm just going to, because I really at that time, from the anger of my youth, my mother, all the shit, I wanted to shoot somebody. I just wanted to shoot somebody. I didn't care about emotions or the consequences. That's how stupid we are. When you watch Gangland and these kids are fighting over a neighbor and you're like, what the fuck? That was me in my head. But I was at war with myself. I grew up in a house where I was always at the attorney's office with my mother. My mother was represented by Sam DeLuca, and he's one of the best. Right now, he's representing the Manzo brothers in a corruption case in Jersey. This guy's the best, right. And this guy does everything with money. You go to him and you go, I got a DUI. He'll tell you right now, listen, DUI in the state of Jersey, you're going to get a year. But if you pay me $10,000, I'll get it knocked down to 9 months. If you pay me $50,000, I get it knocked down to 3 months. If you pay me $100,000, you don't do no jail. You'll be in a halfway house for 10 days. I'll get you out. It's all about money and the corruption. So I knew that. But this was Colorado. It wasn't about money. But I knew that there was a victim involved, and I knew he was emotionally fucked up. So I called like buddies of mine in New York that had gone through this. And they said, when there's a victim like this, you want to give the trial time. Give it time. Give it air, because he'll disappear. I always thought that if I pushed the trial back for a year, the motherfucker would disappear another coke. Because he was hooked like I was. You know what I'm saying? So when I got out, I had a public defender at first. His name was Sonny Flowers, a black guy. His mom was the first black graduate for the University of Colorado. So he was like a token for them. So I got out December 1st, and then I started working on my trial, and I started working on money. I had to get money, because that's the number one thing you have to do. So I went to Sonny Flowers. I took a meeting at the University of Colorado with this guy, Jaramillo, that was in charge of law for the state. And he broke it down for me. He's a Spanish guy. He goes, listen, dog, you got caught with a machine gun. There was violence. And I kept saying, I didn't do nothing. He's like, listen to me. Stupid, you did something. There was a potential for violence. Whenever you have a weapon involved, even if the weapon don't go off, there's a potential for violence. And he gave me a strategy. He goes, go in there, kill time with a public defender. When they make their first offer, string them along, and then fire him. And then they have to start all over from scratch again. So that gave me some time to get some money, and I hired this guy, Philip Dub. He told me not to hire a big, flashy attorney. This was Colorado. Mm-hmm. This is why when John Benet Ramsey had all those problems in Colorado, they didn't hire somebody big, because these are white, conservative people. So I hired the biggest corn-eating motherfucker you ever seen in your life. His name is Philip Dubois. All right, Philip Dubois was his name. He was born and raised in Boulder, a ton of teeth, white as can be. The guy probably fucked with a sheet in between him and his wife. That's how white he was. I told him the truth, and what our strategy was I was going to go to jail no matter what. You're going to do time no matter what. What we're trying to do is get the jail time cut short. So what he did was prove that it wasn't that I was nonviolent. So we had to do, they looked into my background. I had really no assaults or nothing. So he proved I wasn't nonviolent. So he went for nonviolent charges. The first attorney was going for kidnapping and kidnapping too. That means you're going to do your full sentence. Right. Not to mention, I called everybody I knew in Jersey to write letters. Everybody who writes a letter is a potential voter. When a judge gets a letter, a judge is not a judge because he wants to be a fucking judge, because he has political aspirations. So every time somebody writes you a letter, that's a voter. So you have to appease those voters within a thing. I got thousands of letters sent. I had people send letters that I didn't even know. Congressmen, attorneys, assemblymen. I had people send letters that fucking I didn't even know, Felicia. That's how strong it was. So within the letters, I did a pro probation thing. I got a job. I went back to school. I did all the things to look the best I could in front of that fucking guy, in front of that judge. And I milked it. And I even had them do a community service thing where they think about putting you community corrections and you do. That's how much I had these guys going, because I had never been in trouble before beside this, real significant trouble, So I plea bargained for 6 years because the guy that did the crime with me was going to testify against me, but an attorney would pick him apart. And the victim had already robbed cocaine from the hospital, so the attorney would pick him apart.
Right.
So they knew they couldn't put nobody on the stand here. The only one that could go on the stand was me.
So did Tidwell get brought up on those charges?
Tidwell got brought up on charges, but he was on parole. But Tidwell ratted. Tidwell gave him information on me. So they made him a trustee at the jail. He became like a trustee, and they put him in the thing.
What is a trustee?
A trustee, like a guy who sweeps and who has access. When you're a violent, they can't make you a trustee. And it's funny because years later, I bumped into somebody. He was like, "Hey, he was telling people you were a rat." The fuck are you talking about? I did my time just like you. You were on parole, you stupid motherfucker. And it's funny because after it was just a ball of bad luck. And it was bad luck brought upon by me. I don't want to think that it's a society, but it was so weird. When I fired Sonny Flowers, this is what I was telling you, they made this special court hearing. And when I went to this court hearing, I went in front of this judge. I forget what his name was. The judge that sentenced me was Judge Bellapani. But I went in front of this other judge, and he said that after my court thing, that some gentleman wanted to see me in the back. So I didn't know what it was about. I thought it was more cops. When I went in the back, it was 3 federal agents. And they're like, "We don't know if you remember this shit." And they started throwing me all these pictures from Colorado, Aspen in '85. When I was up there going crazy.
Yeah.
And I had teamed up with this guy in Aspen that had stolen money from the Aspen. His wife was like an accountant for the city.
Right.
And they were stealing money to buy coke. They got busted, so they wanted to turn state's evidence. I was one of the guys that was selling them coke. So they were taking pictures of me while I was selling this guy coke. Before they could make a bust, I boogied. I knew that they were watching me, and I boogied.
And that's when the crime rate went down.
And that's when the crime rate went down in Colorado, but in Aspen. But it was so funny how when I went in front of these people, they showed me all these photographs for me to fold. And I wasn't going to fold. I was like, I don't even know these people anymore. And even if I did, I'm not going to fold with these people. That's a complete different fucking story then.
Right.
But it's so weird. Like this week, I just thought about the person I was at that time. And it really wasn't the person I was. It was the person I was for those 3 days. Like my mind had I don't know what had happened, but it was a lesson that taught me who I am today. And like I said, I kept pushing it and pushing it. And one day I was getting into an argument with my ex-wife. And she said this to me before we were married. She told me, think about what you did to that boy. You had him tied up. You had him hog-tied with a fucking gag on his mouth. That's some heavy shit I did that day, And yesterday I found out he was on Facebook.
I saw that.
And I just put it up. I put up first that 23 years ago today, I kidnapped somebody, because I'm not hiding nothing from nobody. And then somebody said, look him up on Facebook. And they came up with his picture on Facebook, so I'm awaiting a friend request, So I didn't want people on Facebook or anybody else who listens to us to think this was a joke.
What's the closest you ever came to death while A, either doing cocaine, or B, violence because of the circle of people you were running with?
I've always told people that I have a fucking guardian angel on my shoulder, because I have lucked out with that shit. I did something in '94 that I wake up, that's even worse than that I kicked in a drug dealer's door with a DA badge on. And to this day, somebody just could have paid. We put people on the floor and we took drugs, and I did it once and I never wanted to do it again. I knew it wasn't. And I remember when I was walking up the stairs going, I'm going to get myself in trouble again. But this was my dog, and he needed a favor. And what the fuck, at this point in my life, I still had nobody. I had nothing to lose, I was in a hole. I had to pay child support at the time, And, man, I think of those times. But the closest ever was in Colorado. Some guy pulled a knife to my throat and had me up against like pipes, so I couldn't get my footing. He had this guy was slick. He had me, he had me in a fucked up position. He threatened me.
When was this? Was this before the kidnapping?
This is '83.
Yeah, so it was right when you got there,
Yeah,
right?
This guy didn't like me. I didn't like him. And one day he waited for me and he got me with with a knife and threatened me, but he didn't threaten me enough because I got him like a month later at lunch. I beat the fuck out of him.
Oh,
And then I
really?
left to New Jersey and we never fought again. You know, I
Yeah.
smacked him a couple times. But
Was he a drug dealer?
no, he was just a redneck that worked with me on the electrician site. He didn't like Yankees or something like that. He just didn't.
Oh,
And
really?
you know, they got a lot of those people out there. And that's
Yeah.
why I had to be careful. When he put the knife to my throat, I seen fucking stars. I
Yeah.
seen stars. I really did. I thought it was the end. He really,
What was the purpose of him putting the knife to
you know,
your
to
throat?
this day, it was an argument or something that we had during the week. And he went home and thought about it. And the next day, he wanted to catch me off guard, that's the way to catch people. He caught me off guard. You know, he didn't make a fuss about it. As I turned into the knife, and he pushed me against the wall. In one of those straight razors, you know?
Right.
And
As far as doing coke, what's the closest that you've ever come to an overdose?
years ago, man, I mean, from 86, like from 85, I got into like those 3-day binges. Like I used to get into those where they're just disgusting. Like one of the worst things I think I did was when I was married. Before I got married, the first time, Kathy, she went home for a wedding, to her brother's wedding. And I had this pink blow that I had been saving at my friend's house.
Pink.
It was pink. It was beautiful. It was 1984. No, it was 87. And it was, was it 87? 86 maybe? And her brother was getting married. And she went down to Boulder on Wednesday. I was supposed to take a flight on Friday. And on Thursday, I picked up the blow. And I was only supposed to do 2 bumps. And it ended
Yeah,
on Sunday.
story of your
Yeah,
life.
and I remember I had a dog, and I didn't let him out for 3 days
Oh,
to
really?
pee. Like he was looking at me by the door, and the pee was coming out of his ears. And I kept hiding the blow in the sink and taking it out every time I wanted to do it. But the worst thing I did that weekend was I called cops on myself.
You what?
Like 3 times. I kept seeing shadows, and I kept calling the cops, and they would come to my house and look around the house and say, no, there's nobody here. And finally, the last time, there was 2 cops. One of them went downstairs. One of them stayed up, and he goes, I advise you to put the bag away. Put the bag away and get some sleep.
Keep the bag under the sink and walk
get some
away
fucking
slowly.
sleep. And that was. I mean, but there was times when I was just looking at myself in the mirror, sweating with your mouth open, with drool coming out of the side, you know, just, and your heart beating, and you're like, what the fuck is my life turning into? I've had those situations where that's just horrible.
Yeah.
And you don't really know. And hey, man, I'm here. That's why now I take
absolutely.
aspirins every day, and I walk to get that fucking muscle. I went to the heart doctor on Monday. My heart's in such good shape. He even gave me a rock of Coke to go. That's how strong my heart was. He's like, here, take a biscuit. And there's nothing worse than losing your freedom. There's nothing worse than a man waking you up at 6 in the morning by kicking your bed. So before you do that crime, guys, or ladies, whoever listens to this, I want you to listen to these words. There's nothing, for me, it wasn't the time. Time is fucking easy, dog.
Yeah.
So what, you don't want me to work, sit in my bed, talk shit with people all day? I'll do a podcast live from fucking prison every day. The best podcast you've ever heard. You follow me? Because these are fucking real people.
Did you have the same cellmate, or did
No.
you have your own cell? Or?
At first, I got sentenced in August, and from August to February, I had it really hard and easy. You know, I had some maximum moments, then I went to they call them a camp before you get into society. And then from there, I stayed in the halfway house from February to the following They kicked me out after 6 months. Then they put me back in for drug violations. So they put me back in twice. And the last time I was in there till the day my daughter was born. So I got out February 3rd, 1990.
Wow.
So that was, I went back in the halfway house like 89. They put me in there when my wife was pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, so I was working and stuff. You know, I was supporting everybody, but they still put me in there. That was tough on her. I learned a lot from that. That was a big life-changing thing for me. And I still kept fucking around. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I wasn't kidnapping people.
Right.
But seriously, if Kent Vell is listening or whatever, I give you my biggest apologies because I know that fucked you up after that. And
You think it must have, right?
please, I seen him in 91. Maybe 91, 92. I went to this bar in Boulder on the Strip, Pearls. That's a popular drug joint, at least it was then. And I seen him in there. I was there to cop, and he was there all fucked up. And he hugged me, you know, and I told him I was sorry, and he told me not to worry about it. That if he thought the kidnapping was bad, he goes, you should have seen what happened to me after that. I mean, this kid was a train wreck. And At the time, I was hoping bad things for him so he wouldn't testify, but they didn't need his testimony. It was already out. And now I wish him the best. I hope he's in Tucson doing great, selling cars, because he was a really talented, really good-looking guy. I mean, he was a very good-looking guy. And the last time I seen him, he had a scar, and his life had been
hard.
And it's. I did what I did, and that's it. It's done. It's done, bitches. No tears today, no crying.
No tears today.
No tears in the podcast today. You know what I'm saying?
Not on Thanksgiving.
No. And that's it. You do these things and you learn. Everybody has a friend or somebody who got in trouble, and some people want to be in prison. I didn't. The first time I went in there, I knew it was not for me.
Was that your first time in prison? Not jail, but prison.
Prison, yeah. That was it. That was it for me. I mean, I had been in a couple different situations. A night here, 2 hours there.
What was your favorite meal in prison? There had to be like one where you're like, thank God.
Let me see.
Was it the same food like on
Boulder had the best food. Boulder County Jail had this fucking pudding, pistachio pudding. That was delicious. You understand?
Really?
Oh, delicious. And they had great Kool-Aid. When you're in the joint, you have what everybody else eats. But then you become friends with this guy in the kitchen and this guy. When I went to Camp George West, that's where I really found out what it is to be in prison, because a lot of these guys were hardened guys that had done a lot of time. And I was in charge of the kitchen, so I would sell cheese, for example. I would order extra cheese and sell out the back door. These guys were making nachos at night. And how they would make nachos is they got an iron, and they took the thing out of the iron. And they put the cheese in a fucking pot and melted it with this iron and added shit to it overnight. So Monday Night Football was like a delicacy.
Right.
These guys were making burritos off an iron, like a fucking heat iron. I mean, planting them down in sandwiches. People sold food every day there,
Right.
especially for events. I was in charge of the sports betting. I had a pool. There was this old gangster in there, and he's like, Joey, can you help me with the pool? He was only getting to white dudes. Me, I was selling to everybody. I was getting to the Mexicans, the blacks, the whites. So I tripled the guy's action.
Oh, yes, you told us that before. Yeah. Did you ever get beat up?
I got into 2 fights in there. I got into a fight with this guy from Cleveland who beat the fuck out of me. He didn't beat the fuck out of me. What happened was we were in the AIDS unit, because we would hang out in the AIDS unit and watch sports. They had the best freezers and shit in the AIDS unit. They had the best big TVs, so we would hang out in there. And as long as you brought the AIDS guys foods. And one day, his name was Severino, Anthony Severino, something like that. We said something, and he grabbed me, and I grabbed him, and he punched me like 2 times in the mouth, and people broke it up. But at the end of the week, we were really friends,
Right.
One time, I had a guy in there who was a dickhead, like a biker dude who was trying to torture me, long head dude.
Yeah.
And I took a cheese box, and I took a shit in it. And I took the American flag and I put it in the shit, and I put it in the box like those Wehrfeld boxes.
Right.
And I took a shit. That's how big the shit was. It filled the whole box.
Well, full of pistachio chunks.
And I put it in no, it was a different jail. And I put it in his drawer, and his room stunk like hell. We would walk past it every day. And finally, when he found it, the shit had shriveled up to like 3 inches. And he's like, who the fuck that? He knew it was me. And one Saturday, I couldn't stand him, and I couldn't stand the crew. There were a bunch of like speed meth heads, rockers. And one day I caught him early on a Saturday in the laundry room, and he had long hair. So I grabbed him around his hair, and I banged his head off the wall. Felicia 15 fucking times. It was classic. He was dizzy for like 2 days, this idiot.
Did you get caught for doing
No,
that?
I never get caught like that. They teach you how to fight in different areas or away from the cameras and shit, so nobody knows,
Wow.
It's a real trip. And I was at a camp where I was in charge of the kitchen, so I knew what was coming in. Plus, I was allowed to sneak out to get food, so I would get Chinese food and egg rolls and shit.
Really?
Yeah, we were right next to Coors in Golden.
Yeah.
Camp George West is in Golden, Colorado. So,
Yeah.
And I had a driver's license, so I used to drive around. I used to drive the lunches to the Invix on the fucking road, picking up garbage. So I used to do all that. So I would meet Mama downtown, get my little dick sucked, eat some ass, and run right back to the prison.
Did you ever get propositioned in prison?
No. I
Did
never.
you ever see a lot of that going on?
No.
Really?
No.
Really?
There was a lot of it going on in one of the prisons where I went there for like a week. It was down there where all the prisons are in Colorado. They have one. I forget the name of it now. But they had modules there. And in those modules, I heard there was a lot of fucking. You seen a lot of guys with little girlfriends, young guys walking around with makeup on and shit.
Yeah.
Calling themselves Lulu.
Right.
Shit like that. That's fucking a different world.
How much of this did you share with your wife, and at what point? What point, dude? That's a thing that fucks me up. When I meet someone, is like, when you start talking about your past, like, what do I share? I don't want to share too much, but I don't want to lie. But at what point did you share this with your
Well, I think I
wife
told
when
I
she was your
told
girlfriend.
Terry, you know, as I started to date her and stuff. She knew. I mean, and then I think like 3 or 4 years into it, I started telling her the stories, you know, and she would just look at me, you know, and that was one of the reasons why I took me so long to marry her. Like I fell in love with her immediately, but I felt that I was just gonna fuck up her life, you know, the way Vela was like a storm, you know, he was just a bad storm. And I always felt that. And then as we stayed together, I could see the bond was getting stronger and stronger. And I could be honest with her. And I told her just so she knew the animal she was dealing with, you know,
Right.
that did happen. I didn't want somebody to come up and explain it the wrong way,
Yeah.
you know, because there's two sides to every story, you know. But I know, you know, that he got duct tape. I know what had happened, you know. But it's so weird how one of my biggest fears when I met Terry was I didn't want somebody knocking on the door 5 years later, you know, and her having to. And this morning I got a very interesting call from a buddy of mine that we live together in Colorado. He's a nut Irish kid. And he's in Midland, Texas now. Great kid, you know. Had a lot of problems growing up, and he got them taken care of. And he called me to ask me if one of my friends that I knew, you know, that I know that he had turned state's evidence. That he had gotten. Now he got arrested in 2007 for bookmaking. Like 13 guys got arrested in Jersey for bookmaking with the Genovese crime family and stuff. And somebody called me and said, "Look at the internet." And I went, "It's my buddy, you know, this kid we grew up with."
Right.
So it was really weird because it was a big gambling case, and he never went to jail. All of a sudden now he's got a Facebook page. But I love him, you know.
Yeah.
I could care less, you know. I know in Jersey the political systems you pay and they give you a long probation or something.
Well, tell us. You were saying that on the hometown where you're from, their website. What is
if
it
you go
say?
to if you go to the Facebook, I think it's North Bergen something alumni or North Bergen people who don't live there no more. I'm from North Bergen, New Jersey. It says on the bottom, like when people put Confucius sayings, it says a friend is someone who bails you out. A best friend is someone who's sitting next to you in the cell. You know, that's our motto where we come from.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. Like that's how we're raised. At that time, and when we were being raised, there was a lot of political shit going on, and the cops were always in town. And as a kid, you were told to shut your fucking mouth. In my house, I was told to shut my mouth. That was the motto for my house. Mira, oye, calla, the three monkeys. Look, listen, and shut your fucking mouth. Let's take a minute here for our sponsor, AdamandEve.com, in the house, as usual, selling their products, which are sensational from what I'm hearing. Somebody emailed me on Facebook and said that they had ordered something that was tremendous.
Oh yeah.
So my props out there to Adam and Eve for making us look good. And if you order right now, as usual, you get 3 free movies, tremendous films, Academy Award winners over in Thailand Film Festival. That's where the shit goes down.
That's where it goes down.
You also get a juicy gift from them. You also get free shipping, and you get 50% off your order. What do they type into the box, Felicia?
I'm sorry, but perhaps you've heard me say this before. FELICIA.
That's the code on the bottom of the box. Order it, and that's it. First memory I seen violence. Like the first time I really seen violence, like I wrote about in the blog this week, I seen my stepdad punch a guy in the head a couple times because 2 dogs got stuck when they were fucking, you know, when they were running across the street in the Bronx. I was a little kid, 6 or 7, and then the guy came out with a broom and started throwing water at him and hitting the dogs, both of them with the stick. And my dad's at this light yelling, "Hey, stop hitting the fucking dog," in Spanish. "Hey, stop hitting the dog." And the guy wouldn't stop. My dad didn't even pull the car over. Right there in traffic, he put that car into park. He walked up to the guy, punched the guy like 3 times in the fucking head. Guy was on the floor, bleeding. My father took the dogs apart, got in his car, and we just took off on Grand Concourse like nothing happened. People were beeping like, "Yeah, fucking hit that motherfucker." I was 6 years old.
Right.
Then about 3 months later, me and my mom were headed to a Met game in a cab. And my mom got into it because my mom had a certain route. This guy wanted to take the long route. My mom was like, "Let me out." The guy's like, "I want money." So my mom and the guy started pulling holding on to her purse. And my mom slid her hand with like the little metal on the purse.
Right.
And all of a sudden, my mom just went to the payphone, called my stepdad. We were in the Bronx. Boom, within 10 minutes, my dad showed up with this guy, Nelson. That was my dad's friend, my mom's friend. And also my dad, and I'll never forget, the guy had glasses on. And the guy was like, "What's going on?" I'll never forget, just looking at my dad's face. just hear him. The guy was talking about what had happened, whose argument it was. But I remember my dad looking at my mom, looking at me, and looking at the guy. And all of a sudden, I was standing next to my dad. I remember he just pushed me back a little bit, and he just unloaded on this guy in the middle of the street. Bam, broke his glasses. The guy went down, punched him like 3 times. The cops came. My dad bribed both cops. We got in our car, and we went home like nothing fucking happened. Like nothing happened. This guy's holding on to his head with the sunglasses on. It was classic. I'm a little kid going, this is fucking life. I love this shit.
But did you ever? At what point did you think this is not? Did you ever think this is not normal, or did you? I mean,
My dad, the first guy I ever seen inflict violence was my dad. I seen him shoot a guy with a fucking, one of those things, the tear gas in the face one time. My stepdad, let's get it out of the way. I grew up in a house where my stepdad was not your normal dad. I grew up in a neighborhood where a lot of dads weren't normal. They went for it. Mm-hmm. My friend, the cop's father, punched you in the head. My stepdad, the worst thing I ever seen my dad do was at 8 years old. We were at a party, at a Santeria party on 148th Street in Broadway. This is a real neighbor. 2 in the morning, we're at this party. People are dancing, we're eating.
Harlem, that's
Harlem. It's like right there. And at the time, it was more white, though. This is after Harlem. This is Upper West Side, but upper.
Upper, yeah.
And my father were all getting along, and my dad didn't drink. He didn't like people who drank. That's just something he wasn't into. He would stab you, but he wouldn't. We've discussed this before. He was very legit about this. And some guy kept busting his balls. He called him something like a nickname. Like, let's say your nickname is Dick Sucker. You don't mind if I call you that because we're family.
Right.
But for some outsider, that's how by the book my dad was. He's like, you don't know me, bro. Don't be calling me that. Right. They used to call him and his brother Four Winds because there were 4 killers in Cuba. They used to call them the 4 Winds, 4 brothers. And the guy said that to my stepdad. And my stepdad's like, you don't know me, guy. And the guy's like, fuck you, bitch. If you were a real man, you'd shoot me right here in the dick. My dad was like, what? And next thing you know, my dad went in this fucking room, my godmother's house, and came out with a 45, went right on the street with this motherfucker, and he goes, tell me what you said. And he goes, if you were really a man, you'd shoot me right here. My dad picked up that gun and shot him right in the fucking leg, right there. 2 in the morning, 30 people on the street. Boom! I'll never forget the noise that 45 fucking made.
And you were there?
I was right there. I was right fucking there. And I
God.
looked at him, and all of a sudden they grabbed the gun from him. He put it in his fucking waist. He grabbed me by the hand, and he had an Electra 225, one of those Cadillacs. We got right in it, went around the block to Hudson River. He threw it in the Hudson River. We got in the car. We drove home. He never said nothing about it again. In 2004, we were eating dinner, and I mentioned it to him before he died. I said, remember the time we were kids and you shot Nico on the leg? And he changed the subject. That's how fucking old school he was.
Right.
He's like, enjoy your rice and beans. Eat your food. I just made it nice and fresh for you. That's how weird he was.
So, but did you have a lot of fear around your stepfather?
No, because I knew, even at that age, I knew he would never hurt me. I knew that he was more of a guy that stuck up. He was one of those guys. And then after my mom died, it affected him. He became fucking crazy. Like, he's Abacoa.
Right,
Abacoa in Cuba is this fucked up shit, but these guys are serious.
Yeah.
I met 3 Abacoas in my day, real Abacoas, and all of them had the same personality. They were very quiet, very refined, very manly. They're not allowed to be in a room with a gay guy. A gay man can't touch their head. These guys, do you ever see that episode of The Sopranos where they were goofing on Junior for eating pussy? That's where it came from. These guys don't even eat pussy. That's how by the man they are, because if in life you think they eat pussy, they could suck anything. That's these guys' mentality. They were all longshoremen in Cuba, and it's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
It's not really a religion. It's a brotherhood. It's like a gang, and they help each other, and they all have. That's why in Scarface, when he had the thing on his hand, and he goes, that means an assassin. When somebody tells you they're Cuban, look at their hands. It's like Russians. You look for stars. When they're Cuban, look at their hand and look at this forearm. If on their forearm they have an arrow with zeros and X's on it, pick up your money and leave, because you're going to lose.
Doesn't mean hugs and kisses.
No, it doesn't mean hugs and kisses. And they honor San Lazaro, who's the guardian saint of dogs.
Right.
That's their thing.
About that, yeah.
But their main thing, as an insult, like if you insult them, their main thing, they don't shoot you. They don't tell you what they do to you. They slice your ass with a straight razor. And right after my mom died at the funeral, because my mom and him had broken up like a year before she died. In that process, he had cut a guy's ass with a razor blade that was friends of the family.
Yeah.
And that guy and my father were at the funeral. My dad had to apologize to him and shit like that. I mean, it was amazing. That's how gung-ho of a guy he was. He didn't play, Felicia. But everything he did, there was a reason. He wasn't a bully. He wasn't robbing people for drugs, nothing.
Yeah.
He just, when you crossed the line with him, There was no beating up. There was a gun involved. There was always a piece involved.
But don't you think, I mean, witnessing this kind of violence at a young age, I mean, that had to have been, or have put a big effect
It
on
affected
you.
me, but it showed me one thing about life that me and you could argue, but when I hit you in the head with something, it'll come through to you. You know, that's what it did teach me. It taught me that everybody who fucked with him and he made it right, nobody ever really messed with him after that.
Right.
It was very weird. And he was a great guy. I mean, this guy was a great guy. He just had a side to him. And he was.
But let me ask you this, though, Joy, and I hate to keep
No. Ask me what the fuck you
harping on
want.
it, and I'll share a story with you. But I mean, seeing someone lose their shit. I mean, maybe he wasn't being all emotional about it, but seeing someone do that kind of violence. I mean, when you're sitting there watching that as a child, did you go numb? Do you shut down? Did it excite you? Did it, like, what is the feeling you have?
It is a rainbow of fucking emotions when you're a child and you see your parents. It's an amazing. Look, I don't know how to describe it. It's an amazing feeling to know that even till today, I have a rainbow of feelings when I think of my stepdad. I think of bad feelings like we all do in life. We all think
Right.
good and bad of our parents. But with me, I thought of first time I seen him punch that fucking guy. I was just so happy. Like I can't imagine. He had
Because
stuck
of
up for me. He had stuck up for the dog.
Right.
Like for somebody to do that for me. And that's how I was raised. I was raised, both my mom and dad stressed that. But they didn't just stress it. They lived by it. You got to stick up for yourself in this life. And the violence, as you're talking about, yes, it affected me in good and bad ways.
Well, what is the bad ways it affected you?
The bad way it affected me is that for a long time I thought it was the solution to all your problems. I still do at times. I still think a good smack to the face lets people know what the fuck is really going on in life. We all do.
Right.
A smack could be a smack in the head or just a wake-up call, you know. I've gotten smacked in the face fucking plenty of times, and they're wake-up calls, you know. The bad thing about violence is you can't do it to people. You just can't. It's not right. It's striking somebody is very bad. It's a fucked up emotional thing when you get fucking hit in the head. It's very, as you know.
Do you think it made it easier for you to be violent because it was the norm for you growing up?
Good and bad. It taught me, like I said, this is a fucked up question because it taught me that it was like empowering to know that you have that. That any minute, you know, you have that emotion in you. That I
You can
know
pull
I
it
could
out of
stick
your
up for
pocket.
myself. Yeah, I know I could get it going. There's a lot of crazy people out there. There's a lot of crazy fucking people out there. Juan was crazy, but to an extent. You know, years later, when I lived at the Benders, one night Bobby Bender came home and he goes, "Dog, wake up." He goes, "Your dad just shot and killed a guy on 51st Street that was trying to rob him." Like my dad used to carry a lot of money on him, 10, 20,000, 20,000 in jewelry. He was a fucking spick, Jack. You know, he didn't give a fuck. That was his mentality. And two kids tried to rob him one night. He took the gun from one of them and he shot the other one. Then 3 months after that, he got arrested coming through a Lincoln Tunnel with a dead body in the car. Him and his friend had gotten shot at a club, and the guy died in the fucking car. I mean, but this guy had death all over him. His three brothers came from Cuba. In '79, they came from Cuba. Two of them died on the street like pigs in West New York, New Jersey. Got shot in the street like pigs. One of them he sent back because he felt he was a communist. You hearing me? Are you fucking hearing me? My father paid Castro, I don't know how many thousands of dollars to get his brother here.
Right.
And he sent them back in a week because they were eating lunch, and he called my father a comrade. My father got up and said, "You're out of the house. You're a fucking commie cocksucker." This is what I mean. He was a no-nonsense type guy.
Right.
It was it was black and white with him. There was no gray area. I learned from him, and I also learned good things, and I learned bad things. And I catch myself acting like him sometimes, like making decisions he would make sometimes. And I regret it, but sometimes they work, you know. Sometimes it's...
Right. I'm always very curious of how things affect people. My mother was from Berlin, Germany, and my mother was born in 1940. And so one of her first memories as a child is being carried by her mother, and her mother's running down the streets because they tried to firebomb Berlin like they did Dresden, and that everything was on fire, and that the fire was so hot it melted her eyelashes. And so I have an aunt, my mother's sister, who was 10 years older. And the last time I went to go visit my aunt, she has since passed away, but the last time I went to go visit her, I wanted to find out, like, when did you know how bad things were? Because they were very lucky that they got to leave Berlin and they got to go stay in Bavaria in this little village that was at the bottom of the hill, you know, where Hitler's nest was, or Eagle's Nest. That's where, if you see old video or film footage of Hitler in the mountains, that was his place where he would hang out, and all the officers would come up. It was called Eagle's Nest. And so my grandmother took my mother and her sister to this hotel, and they stayed there for about a year. Then they ran out of money, and then she worked at the hotel because it was during the war, and it was just the three of them. And so then she managed the kitchen in the hotel, and because a lot of officers would stay at that hotel on their way to Eagle's Nest, that hotel got the first pick of food from the village. You know, they got first pick of everything. And so it was my aunt's job when she was 14, so this must have been 1944, to go get the bread at the bakery. And I said to her when I was talking to her, like, at what point as a young person did you understand that the country that you're a part of is on the wrong side of stuff? At what point do you have an understanding of that? And she told me this story about being 14 and having to go get the bread, and she got this big basket of bread, and she was walking back from the village, and that there was a chain gang of Jews working on the road, and they were obviously malnourished and starved. And that was really the first time she had kind of seen it, and they were being guarded by soldiers. And one of the Jews saw that she had this basket of bread, and he ran towards her just trying to get a piece of bread. He was starving, and he knocked the basket down in his excitement, and that the soldier shot him dead and put all the bread back in the basket with blood on it and told her to go about her way. And that was her first memory of really understanding this is not right, that this is something's going on. So I always find it very interesting, you know, to ask you, like, you know, if you see this kind of violence, yeah, I can understand if your dad hit someone because someone was being cruel to dogs and feeling probably a little happy or proud about it. But at other times, like, how did that affect you?
It affected me growing up with him, but it also showed me the bad side of it, the other side of the violence, you know. After he died, I spoke to a friend of his, and he goes, you know, the last 50 years of his life, the last 30 years of his life, he was confused. He died a millionaire, never took a trip. So all those shootings and all that shit was all in vain. He never lived his life, you know, and that was the thing I was most scared of. I always wanted to live my life, you know. Being in jail was cool at 20. It wouldn't be cool today. Not at 47. It would not be cool today.
By the way, if you have any topics you would like us to talk about or comments you would like to make, you can either go to our webpage at beautyandthebeast.com and leave it on the comment page, or you can email us at beautyandthebeastpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We've been getting some amazing emails. I'm working on the sound. God damn it. People are starting to get very angry. I think I need to get an amplifier in here. I don't know. I've had 2 people look at it. And so we're working on it, but please email us and give us your thoughts. My friend Wendy, my best friend, you know, I have a best friend, and you've met Wendy,
yes.
right? When I told the story about the table,
yes.
Wendy. So Wendy is in Bali this week, and Wendy's so awesome, by the way. But before she left, she's like, you know, Felicia, did you see this video on YouTube? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, it's a video where a guy sticks his head up a woman's vagina. And I was like, what?
Did you look at it?
You should see your eyes. They're as big as saucers now. You're like, whoa.
Disgusting.
No. So she's like, you should look for it. It's on YouTube, right? So, but I hate when people do that. And then you go on, you know, when someone's hovering over you on the computer, and I go to Google it, and before I can even type in it, she's like, Google man who sticks his head in a woman's vagina. Yeah, like, no shit, bitch. I know that's what I was supposed to do. But isn't that crazy? That, first of all, a woman that would let a man stick his head up her vagina, you know, she's pissed. You know what I mean? She's about to take a motherfucker out because, you know, one well-placed queef, and you could blow his brains right out of his head. At least
tell you
ruin his
something, bro.
fucking
There
hearing.
are some women that I would stick my head in their vagina just out of principle.
And what women would those? Would
Well,
those
one,
be?
my wife. Who else would I stick my head? The
You
girlfriend.
would want to stick your head up your wife's vagina.
Oh, when you're eating pussy, you get so caught away sometimes. You don't understand, Felicia. I don't know how it is to. I don't know how it is to suck a cock.
Are you gonna take a flashlight in
but I know
with you too
sometimes-
and check out where the
sometimes
G
when-
spot
sometimes you
actually
just-
is?
Nah, sometimes you just get so excited, guys, and you know what I'm talking about. You're down there, you're eating that fucking monkey, you're looking at the asshole, you're playing with that little noodle, you got 2 fingers in there, you're sucking, you hear all those noises and shit, and all of a sudden you're like, God damn, I want to stab this bitch, because you just get so fucking hot and bothered. And when you got like a young girl, you don't mind. You want to rub your face in that monkey, and sometimes if your head goes halfway in there, fuck it. You know, that's the experience. I would love. Who's that girl on Blue Bloods? There's a fucking brunette on that show, Blue Bloods.
Yeah, I don't know her name. But
She's about 40
intensely
something.
beautiful. Yeah.
She fucking kills me.
Yeah.
Carrie O's,
Yeah.
the Richard Gere's wife, when she was on Law and Order. After
you
they
would
sentenced
stick
me,
your head in
I would
Richard
shove
Gere's
my
wife's
ass.
vagina?
Oh, right in that little monkey. The black girl that's crazy, the model. That smacks
Naomi
people.
Campbell?
Oh, I would stick
you
my head
wanna
right
stick-
in her fucking black little monkey and stay in there for a week and take pictures. You know what I'm saying? Naomi Campbell, I love that little black bitch. I would love to suck her ass from behind, see those little black toes running around like that. It's like watching an African movie or something like that. It's like watching
my
Tarzan
God,
or
Joey,
something.
That is so wrong.
I love Naomi Campbell. I've always loved Naomi
Jeez.
Campbell. That little black moolie, I would fucking tear her. I'll tell you who else's ass I'd stick my head in, my arm up. Beyonce.
Now we're moving it to someone's
Oh,
ass.
I'd stick my arm.
Okay,
everything.
now it's not stick
Listen,
your head
I'd
up
stick
someone's
my head-
vagina.
Beyonce.
Stick your head up someone's ass.
Listen, Beyonce knows I'd stick my head in her pussy and my eyeballs would come out of her asshole. You know what I'm saying? That's how deep I get into that black muff. That's how I roll, people.
Wow.
Yeah, I like all that. Now, if I could shove my head up a woman's vagina when you get so passionate, you know, when you're eating that monkey and things are just right,
Right.
sometimes it happens. You're like,
But
how
you
can
know,
I fit my head in this
sometimes a
motherfucker?
woman's vagina, maybe the balance is off, and you don't want some guy sticking his head up there and then screaming, "My eyes!
But
my
now-
eyes! They're burning!"
Now, there's another fucking story to the eyes are burning. There's another story to that. The other story is that if you have a woman and your head fits in her vagina,
Yeah.
and she's a reject from the knuckle factory in fucking Vegas, like if she got thrown out of a knuckle pussy contest in Vegas, you know, your wife's got a problem if you could put your head up there. YouTube has crazy shit and crazy people on there. I have a friend that lives off that shit. Mr. Joe Rogan lives off that. I've never even seen 2 cups in one girl. Like, I don't watch none of that shit. I don't want to see
Two
it.
cups in one girl.
That's when the chick puts pudding up a girl's asshole and sucks it out.
Pudding.
Yeah.
What kind of pudding?
I don't know. No.
Like
The video was originally made for you to think that while she was eating a girl's ass, she sucked the shit out of her ass and spit it into a
Right.
cup or something. But later on, they found out that the chick put pudding in her ass and let another chick suck it out of her asshole on
So
camera.
it's chocolate pudding.
Yes. And then they talk about a horse that fucks a guy in the ass from Seattle. I think they took the video down where they bend the guy over. It's a bunch of guys and they hang out in Seattle in the farm, and all of a sudden they show a guy with a horse's dick in his hand, and he puts in the guy's asshole, and you hear the guy go, oh. And all of a sudden they show the horse fucking the guy. I don't understand that stuff. I don't want to see that. I don't
What
want
is the horse thinking when that's going on?
I don't know.
No
That he
way.
hit the fucking jackpot. Maybe you don't have to run that day. I don't know. But who would be sitting around at the house thinking about, what can we do today? How about we have a horse fuck you in the air? Oh, no. How about we shit in a fucking pudding cup and you eat out of an asshole? Oh, better yet, why don't we try shoving my head up your fucking monkey? How old was the guy? Was the guy I'm telling you, this is sick shit. I don't even want to talk about this shit on Beauty and the Beast. It's disgusting. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, please. So you did see the girl sucking the pudding out of
No, I won't watch any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. I don't want. Listen, when I was a kid, I told you when I did that special, and I never revealed it to somebody. I know why I don't like porn today, because when I was a kid, my father and my stepfather had those Super 8 reel-to-reel movies. And one day, me and a bunch of clowns, Dominic Special, his brother, Sabatino, Carlos Perez, we all went up to my attic with a bag of weed, and we put the projector together, and we hit switch, and all of a sudden it goes like 9, 8, 7. All of a sudden they show the chick, a fucking scraggly chick with freckles and no titties, get a piece of white bread that didn't even have the fucking corners cut out of it.
Right.
You know? and put it on a guy's dick, and then she put Miracle Whip on it and bit into it.
Right.
And I never seen 5 guys just freeze. Like all 5 of us were like, and we looked at each other and we clicked it. We put the projector away, and there was no more porn in my fucking life. How you could buy that? I was about 13 and I seen that, and I was like, that was enough. She had dirty feet and her fingernails were dirty.
Oh,
Just
really?
that alone. Some chick
Right.
sucking your dick with dirty fingernails. That drives me crazy. You wouldn't want me finger banging you after I just changed the transmission, would you?
This is our Thanksgiving episode, so I'm going to say, I was going to ask you, I was going to completely dork out and say, what are you thankful for? And I'm going to tell you, I'm thankful that we're doing the podcast, and it's added another dimension to my comedy career that I've restarted, and I'm just enjoying it, you know?
I'm happy you're doing it. I'm thankful for our friendship. I'm thankful for my cats. I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for all the people that email us and have given us a chance to listen to this fucking thing. You know, we're just 2 crazy motherfuckers dropping it here the way we call it. And some people might not listen again, and some people might hold on. For the people who are still listening, we love you. And we're happy
Yes,
we have
thank
you.
you.
And from the bottom of my fucking heart, Felicia, drop it to them, Felicia. We want you to
Please,
have a great
Please
Thanksgiving.
have a wonderful, kick-ass Thanksgiving, and hold the people you love close to you.
And don't forget about us. Keep emailing us at
Beauty and the Beast podcast at gmail.com.
and we love you, motherfuckers. All right? Thank you very much. Stay black. Give them a kiss, Felicia.
Mwah.
Mwah. Love you.